it's me, Lisa Clarkson. I thought I'd introduce myself for a change. I have a doctor of physical therapy and I'm a functional medicine practitioner. And today I wanted to talk to you about toxic load and toxic burden. And specifically, I want to talk about environmental toxins. So, unfortunately, there's been a massive increase in environmental toxins. And currently, I think we've got 12,000 forever chemicals. So those are the PFAs or PFAS that are out in our environment and actually are so much part of us now that babies will be born with some of these chemicals in them. And then there's 144,000 other chemicals that we're being exposed to on a daily basis that are not part of nature. So we have a large burden environmentally that our body is always trying to process. Fortunately, we have a detoxification system, so hopefully it's managing. The thing is that the number of toxins in our environment has increased tremendously, and we have not evolved at that same rate. So some of us are going to start to feel the burden of that toxic load. And when you have an increase in toxins that you can't get rid of in your body, it's going to start causing oxidative stress. So it's going to start damaging the mitochondria, and it's going to deplete you of glutathione, which is one of your major antioxidants that helps you deal with that oxidative stress. It's also going to cause disruption in your immune function, so your resiliency against things like COVID or colds or flus is not going to be as high because you're dealing with an affront to your immune system because of these other toxins. And then ultimately it can cause DNA damage. So what's kind of weird about these toxins is that they disrupt enzyme function. So a third of our genome codes for these different enzymes, and the toxins will knock off the necessary cofactor and take its place. So now your enzymes can't work. So this is obviously also going to be causing a lot of disease because you're no longer to process things in your body in like every aspect. Could be hormones, could be your immune system, could be your gut, it could be, it could be your ability to generate energy, that's your mitochondria. So there's a lot of ways that these toxins can have implications. And the big things that we're looking at are heavy metal toxicity. So I just heard that a third of Americans have enough arsenic in them that would account for chronic disease. It can be related to prostate cancer as well as cardiac disease and other issues. And then, so we have our heavy metals, but then we have these forever chemicals. We have those plastics, the bisphenols, the BPAs, the phthalates, and those PFAs or the PFAS that I was telling you about. So we have a lot of these toxins that we need to try to get out of us. Plus we have the agrochemicals, which are the chemicals that are associated with the agricultural work, right? That's your the pesticides that they're putting on your foods, which is why we're trying to avoid eating anything that isn't organic, but really looking at the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen, which if you go to the environmental working group, you can get that list. The environmental working group actually also has a couple of other platforms that can show you clean cleaning agents. So clean things that you can use for your home as well as skincare products. So that's a really good resource, and I'll try to remember to post that for you when you see this up in our Facebook group. So what are you going to do about it? Here's the thing. You have to assume that you're being exposed to some of these chemicals, okay? We all are. We can't avoid them. And it could be why you might be having hormone dysregulation or chronic fatigue or having immune dysfunction or chronic inflammation, right? So some of your symptoms that you're feeling could be, one of the contributors could be this toxic burden, mold exposure, right? I just heard that out in the San Juan Islands, out in Washington State, that their groundwater has arsenic in it, and if they have a well, then they're getting overexposed to that. So we have to, try to manage our environment. So what are we going to do? Well, if you have symptoms, you might want to get tested to see what's showing up, and or you could just start making some changes, right? So I mentioned trying to change the products that you're using to use cleaner products, and there's a resource you can go to help make those changes. Also, trying not to use plastics for food storage. So even taking, if you're buying things that are in plastic, taking it out of plastic as soon as it gets home, because those toxins will continue to leach. So even if you're saving yourself a few days, like that's going to be good, right? So we can store our things in ceramic or in glass, which is going to be much better. I think, I've talked about all those non-stick products that I had in my house, and those are not good for us. So we're going to try to take out some of the things that are known exposures so we can reduce the toxic burden. Also, you can try to amp up your detoxification system so that there are supplements you could take, but you could even use things like fiber, just increase your fiber, because that will help pull out some of the toxins in your stool. Also, sweating is really good, whether it be a sauna or exercise. That gets toxins out in a different way than out through your stool. So sometimes only some toxins can get out through sweating. So that would be a good thing to try to add in. You making sure you filter your water. If you're not already doing that, that could be helpful for you, and maybe even adding like an air filter. Think about things like even pollution. If you're driving on the road, on the highway, and your window's down and you're smelling like offensive smells like gas, well, you're inhaling those toxins. So I'm not sure you're going to start wearing a filter on your face just to pump your gas, but that's a place where you're being exposed and you probably don't even realize it. There are a couple things that I wanted to mention. Oh yeah, one is that some of these toxins, their half-life is really long, those forever chemicals. It's like 20 to 40 years. So it may be that we've managed just fine for a little while. Some of the stuff will turn around fast, you just have to avoid it. But some of the stuff stays in you for a while. So now if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, your toxic burden's been building up, you haven't eliminated that fast, and now you're starting to notice, you're starting to have these symptoms that were sort of building up over a long period of time, and now is when, I was going to say something offensive, so now's when things start to happen. So, all right. So we've talked about the sweating. You could, I've heard actually using cilantro might be helpful for getting some of those metals out, although there aren't any great studies on it. So I'm just passing on some basically folklore there. You never know though what's going to come out later. If you're also eating cruciferous vegetables can be very helpful. There are probably a few people in the population that can't tolerate those, but that will be very helpful for you. So I wanted to give you a little bit of lay of the land, give you a couple of tools to work with. Know that you can also get tested to try to figure out where you are, particularly if you have symptoms, but also if you're just trying to optimize your health. And then that might motivate you also to make some more extreme changes. So that's the word on the street right now, and hope it's helpful. And let me know if you have questions, and I will see you soon. Bye.